Rain poured on the empty roadside as Daniel, a single father, rushed home from his night shift. Through the downpour, his headlights caught a broken car and beside it, a woman crying for help. Her trembling voice cut through the storm. "Please, don't hurt me. I can't walk." Daniel froze. She was terrified, soaked, and injured. He could have kept driving, most people would. But something in her eyes, something shattered, told him she'd been through enough pain for one lifetime. He took a deep breath, stepped out into the rain, and what happened next would change both of their lives forever. The night was darker than usual, the kind that swallows even the moonlight. Rain hammered against the windshield as Daniel Reyes drove down the empty highway, the old wipers fighting to keep up. His body ached from another long shift at the auto shop, and all he could think about was getting home to his little girl, Lily. She would be asleep by now, clutching the stuffed bear he'd repaired with duct tape and love. But then through the mist and glare of his headlights, something caught his eye. A silver luxury car sat half off the road, its front crumpled against a guardrail. For a moment, Daniel hesitated. He knew this stretch of road. It was lonely, dangerous, and sometimes used for setups or robberies. But then he saw a faint flicker of movement inside the car. Someone was in there. He slowed his truck and stepped out into the freezing rain. "Hello, are you hurt?" he called, his voice nearly lost to the storm. No answer. Only the wind and the pounding of rain against metal. He moved closer, shining his phone's flashlight through the cracked window. Inside, a woman sat motionless, her hands trembling. Her hair was soaked, her face streaked with blood and tears. When Daniel gently tapped on the glass, she flinched, her eyes wild with terror. "Please," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Please, don't hurt me. I can't walk." The words stopped him cold. She was terrified of him, just a man trying to help. Slowly, he raised both hands, stepping back. "It's okay," he said softly. "I'm not here to hurt you. My name's Daniel. I'm just trying to help." The woman's breathing slowed slightly, though her fear still clung to every word. "My leg is stuck. I think it's broken." Daniel nodded, moving cautiously to the driver's side. "All right, I'm going to get you out. Okay, just trust me." He pulled at the jammed door until it gave way with a loud creak. The woman winced as he carefully slid his arms under her and lifted her out of the car. She was light, fragile, her designer suit torn and soaked through. Under the relentless rain, Daniel carried her toward his old pickup. The storm roared around them, but for that fleeting moment, there was only silence between them, two strangers, one broken and afraid, the other carrying more than just her weight. He was carrying the beginning of something that would change both their lives forever. The rain hadn't slowed by the time Daniel reached his pickup, the woman trembling in his arms. He gently placed her in the passenger seat, wrapping his only jacket around her shoulders. She winced as he adjusted her leg, careful not to cause more pain. Her face was pale and streaked with tears, but beneath the fear, there was strength, like someone used to being in control, now forced to surrender to helplessness. "Hold on," Daniel said softly, starting the engine. "There's a hospital about 20 minutes from here." Her eyes darted toward him nervously, still unsure of his intentions. "Why are you helping me?" she asked, her voice trembling. Daniel glanced at her briefly before turning back to the road. "Because you need it," he said simply, "and because someone once stopped for me when nobody else did." The rhythmic hum of the rain filled the silence that followed. The windshield fogged, and Daniel wiped it with his sleeve as he drove through the storm. She shivered quietly beside him, her hands gripping his jacket like it was her only anchor. On the dashboard hung a small, hand-drawn picture, two stick figures holding hands beneath the sun, with the words "Me and Daddy" written in crayon. Her gaze softened. "Your daughter." Daniel smiled faintly. "Yeah, Lily, she's 8. She waits up for me sometimes, but I tell her not to." The woman nodded slowly, her breathing still uneven. "She's lucky to have a father like you." Daniel didn't reply. He focused on the road ahead, the headlights slicing through sheets of rain. When they finally pulled up to the emergency entrance, Daniel jumped out, running around to her side. He lifted her again, as gently as he could, and carried her through the sliding doors. The nurses rushed forward with a stretcher, taking over immediately. Before they wheeled her away, she grabbed Daniel's sleeve. "What's your name?" she asked, her voice weak, but sincere. "Daniel Reyes," he replied. Her fingers tightened briefly. "Thank you, Daniel. I don't even know how to just get better," he interrupted with a reassuring smile. "That's enough thanks for me." As the doors closed behind her, Daniel stood there for a moment, soaked, exhausted, but strangely at peace. He didn't know who she was or why fate had placed her in his path, but something deep inside told him that this night wasn't just an accident. It was the beginning of something that would change everything. The following morning, Daniel returned to the hospital before heading to work. He carried a small cup of coffee and a paper bag of Pandazel bread, something warm to offer the woman he had rescued. As he stepped into her room, she looked up from the bed, startled at first, then relieved to see a familiar face. "You came back," she said softly. Daniel shrugged modestly. "Just wanted to make sure you're okay. They said you dislocated your knee and sprained your leg." She nodded, her eyes tracing the wrinkles in his worn work shirt and the calluses on his hands. "You didn't have to. You already did enough." He smiled faintly. My dad used to say, if you can help, you do it. Doesn't matter who it is. He placed the bag on her bedside table. It's not fancy, but it's breakfast. She hesitated for a moment, then reached for a piece of bread. I'm Clara, she said, almost shyly. Clara Dawson. Daniel paused. The name sounded familiar, but he couldn't place it. Nice to meet you, Miss Dawson. A nurse entered briefly to check Clara's vitals, and as she left, Clara's eyes fell on the chart at the foot of the bed. Her hospital deposit listed as paid in full. Her brows furrowed. Wait, I didn't give them my card. Daniel looked down, rubbing the back of his neck. You were unconscious when we arrived. They needed to start treatment right away, so I paid it. She stared at him, stunned. You what? Daniel, that must have been hundreds of dollars. He gave a small laugh, trying to play it off. Don't worry about it. I'll make up for it with overtime. Tears welled in her eyes. Why would you do that? You don't even know me. Daniel looked at her then, his expression calm but sincere. Because someone once helped me when I had nothing. I'm just passing it on. For a moment, Clara couldn't speak. No one had done something purely selfless for her in years. As CEO of a major company, she was used to deals, conditions, and obligations. But this was kindness without expectation. When Daniel left that morning, Clara watched him go, her chest tight with an unfamiliar feeling. She had built her life on power and independence. Yet, for the first time in years, she felt small in the most humbling, human way. A week after her discharge, Clara found herself standing outside a small, worn-down apartment complex on the edge of town. She had convinced Daniel to let her visit, insisting she wanted to personally thank him and meet the daughter he'd spoken about. As she stepped out of her sleek black car, she noticed the contrast between her world and his, the cracked pavement, the rusted railings, the faint laughter of children echoing in the narrow hallway. Daniel greeted her at the door, wearing his grease-stained work shirt, surprised but smiling. You really didn't have to come all the way here, he said, stepping aside. I wanted to, Clara replied, her voice warm. You saved me. It's the least I could do. Inside, the apartment was small but cozy. A faint smell of soup filled the air. The furniture was old, the curtains faded, but the space radiated something her mansion never had: comfort. Home on the wall were framed crayon drawings, Lily's artwork. Miss Clara, a small voice chirped. Lily ran toward her, her dark hair bouncing as she smiled wide. Daddy told me you got hurt. Are you okay now? Clara knelt down, smiling through the lump forming in her throat. I'm much better now, sweetheart, thanks to your dad. Lily handed her a small, folded piece of paper. I made this for you. Clara unfolded another crayon drawing. This one showed a stick figure man and a woman standing under a rainbow, holding hands, with a little girl beside them. Underneath, it read, "Thank you for helping my daddy smile again." Clara's lips trembled as tears filled her eyes. This is beautiful, Lily. Daniel smiled softly, his eyes glancing at the simple dinner he had prepared: 2 plates of soup and rice. We don't have much, but would you like to join us? For the first time in years, Clara sat at a table where no one cared about business deals or social image. They talked, laughed, and shared stories over a modest meal. She watched the way Daniel looked at his daughter with gentleness, love, and pride, and something inside her shifted. That night, as she drove home through the quiet streets, Clara realized that the richest thing in the world wasn't money or success. It was the warmth of people like Daniel and Lily, the kind of love that asked for nothing, yet gave everything. 2 weeks later, Daniel received an unexpected phone call while fixing a customer's truck at the auto shop. The voice on the other end was familiar, yet formal. It was Clara. Daniel, she said, I'd like you to come by my office tomorrow morning. It's important. He hesitated. Clara, you've already thanked me. You don't owe me anything. I know, she replied softly, but this isn't about owing. It's about opportunity. The next morning, Daniel arrived at a towering glass building downtown, feeling completely out of place in his worn jacket and boots. He stepped into the lobby, greeted by a receptionist who smiled warmly and directed him to the top floor. When the elevator doors opened, he found Clara standing by a massive window overlooking the city. She turned, her expression kind but purposeful. I didn't tell you everything about me, she began. I'm the CEO of Dawson Industries. Daniel blinked in surprise. Wait, or that Dawson? Clara smiled faintly. Yes, but titles don't matter today. You see, that night changed something in me. I realized I've built a company, but not a purpose. You showed me what compassion looks like, Daniel, and I want to do something meaningful with it. She handed him an envelope. Inside was a formal offer letter. I've started a new foundation, she explained. It's called Second Chances. We'll help single parents, veterans, and people rebuilding their lives. I want you to lead one of the first programs, a community repair initiative. You'll have your own team, your own shop, and full funding. Daniel stared at the paper, speechless. Clara, I don't know what to say. I just fix cars. She stepped closer, her tone gentle but firm. No, Daniel, you fix people. You gave me back my faith in humanity when I had none left. His throat tightened. You're serious? Completely, she said, smiling through misty eyes. You helped me stand again, now it's my turn to help you rise. Moments later, Clara extended her hand, and Daniel shook it, his rough calloused fingers trembling slightly. Behind them, the city gleamed under the morning sun, a silent witness to the power of kindness. As Daniel walked out of that office, his heart felt lighter than ever before. He hadn't just saved a life that night, he had unknowingly changed his own. And from that storm onward, two strangers became proof that one selfless act can rewrite destinies forever.